And we are live.
We are
Welcome
live.
everybody. So my name is Isaac. I am the co-founder of Pet Summits and the host of the Pet Care Report. The mission of the show is to connect as many pet parents with the world's leading pet experts and brands to discover the latest trends, innovations, and essential products for optimal pet care. Today, we are very excited to have a very special guest, the Director of Education, CBD Dog Health, Carter Easler. I hope I said your last name right.
You did
Um,
great.
Carter is a cannabis educator and holistic practitioner with certification in the use of cannabis therapies for veterinary medicine by the College of Integrative Veterinary Therapies. Growing up in a family of veterinarians, Carter developed a deep love for animals and saw firsthand how holistic medicine could change both their lives and his own. As director of education for CBD Dog Health, Carter now travels North America, educating pet parents, business owners, and veterinarians about the benefits and behind cannabis therapeutics. Alrighty, I got that all out.
Yeah, nice job. First North America,
Well,
next the world.
oh, yes, and there's lots of like we'll be discussing earlier off the live about you guys going to the CBD Expo in Colombia, which is such a great thing. You guys are doing so many great things in this space, and this is basically why we got you on, because it's there's a bit of a buzzword going around right now, and a feeling like there's a lot of everyone's jumping on the bandwagon, and it's just like, okay, well, it's just like every marketing thing, who can we trust, and what do we know? And like for pet parents that aren't that well versed in the knowledge, and they're hearing about what CBD is, or see what it does for our dogs. So I just want to ask you a couple of questions, and we'll start off with what we got today, which I
Absolutely.
think is a very good question. What would be the biggest misconception pet parents have about CBD for pets?
That's a good question. I would say it probably has a lot to do with what you're saying, in that there's this kind of rush to jump on the bandwagon. There's a lot of excitement for the possibility of what CBD and cannabis-based therapies can do. And so I think that the biggest misconception is kind of a two-part. It's like either people think that it's snake oil and that it doesn't do anything, or that it's this miracle thing that's going to, with little effort and just one drop, it's going to change you and your pet's life forever, which we know can't possibly be true. So, I would say that the misconception is that it lies in this like mystical world of extremes, where really it's just a really fantastic and effective tool, that functions very well on a number of different levels, and quite honestly is best used as part of a really robust and holistic, in the true meaning of the word holistic, regimen for our pet's health.
Yeah, I know. We'll probably get into this a little bit as well. I read when I had COVID earlier this year. I'm a pretty big guy. Played
Hmm.
played a lot of rugby. Throw
Yeah,
around a bit of weight.
you look
Did a
like a
lot of
rugby player.
did did a lot of contact sport, and when I had COVID, I was in so much pain. I couldn't sleep,
Mm,
and what I like the CBD like just really like help. And I hadn't really tried much of it before, because I think, and this is also like me, 'cause my sister uses it a lot, but me being
hmm.
CBD, like but like typical stoners or potheads, but like the
Sure.
therapeutic side of it, and I think that's a lot of the misconception as well. The therapeutic side of it, I just know from firsthand experience for myself, like it was the one thing that was just really helping with the kind of like the aches and pains. And I guess that kind of
Right.
goes into the next question that I have. Which conditions do you see pets benefit most from when using cannabis based therapies?
I mean, it's kind of, it's a great question to ask, because there are so many things that it can be used for. And what I think is that one of the best ways to think about it is, to just kind of go back to basics about how CBD and cannabis-based therapies work. Kind of the primary way that they affect our pets and our own bodies is they interact with this system called the endocannabinoid system in our body, which is known as a master regulatory system. So this system is present and helps regulate the all through your body, your organs, your central nervous system, your peripheral nervous system, your circadian rhythm, your skin, your gut, your liver. And so in all those places, it is increasing communication between them and moderating their effects so that they come back to a place of balance. And so, that's why it can be applicable for so many different conditions. And one of the main routes that kind of works is in fighting inflammation and with inflammation-based conditions. So, that's why we see so much success in conditions such as arthritis, which is where we're getting a lot of our kind of the primary research that made vets start to wake up and go, oh, we can't really ignore this anymore because, Cornell is publishing studies on its efficacy. Baylor College of Medicine in Texas is publishing on it. Different neurological conditions that are largely inflammation based. We've got a lot of animals who are suffering from seizures, cancer, which is, I was talking to a vet that we work with, Dr. PJ Broadfoot in Arkansas, and I said, like most cancers, there's an inflammation. She said, all cancers, Carter, all cancers come from a chronic low-grade inflammation of some kind.
Yeah.
So I would say that it is great for conditions where the body is out of whack and out of balance, and it can help to kind of rein that in and let the body heal itself.
And
does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. But just because like when I first started learning about it was through a lot of experts like yourself and other speakers speaking about cannabis or CBD. Can you just explain to maybe just in case some other people, what is the endocannabinoid system?
Yeah. So the endocannabinoid system, I always like to preface it by saying, it sounds like it is this kind of made up thing that it could, because it has cannabinoid in the name, it sounds like it is just like we named something because we want to say that CBD works. But this is an innate system that if you never consume any cannabis, any THC, CBD, any cannabis-based products, your body is naturally producing compounds and has these receptors throughout their body for what are called endocannabinoids. So these are molecules inside your body that look a lot like CBD and THC. So compounds like anandamide, there's another one called 2-AG. Those are kind of two big ones. And so the body's already producing these, and the job of them is to regulate homeostasis and bring the body back to balance. And so there's just kind of the compounds that this plant, the cannabis plant or the hemp plant, when we're talking about a CBD extract, it has these molecules called cannabinoids that look a lot like what our body's already making and can kind of turn on those receptors and signaling compounds to do what the body's naturally doing. And oftentimes, many of these diseases that we're talking about, these chronic conditions, result as a deficiency in the endocannabinoid system, where the body, because of, any number of things, any number of external stimuli or, toxicity or lack of nutrition or chronic inflammation, the endocannabinoid system can't function properly. And so what CBD can do is to help bring it back to that place where it can help the body heal naturally.
Yeah, right. Thank you for explaining that. So if anyone's that's watching, I hope that was because that even just reconfirmed and reminded myself about that. So thanks a lot for that.
Sure thing.
Based on kind of how we started off the conversation is everyone's jumping on the bandwagon and there's so many products out there. So for pet parents out there, what should pet parents, when they are, whether they be going from CBD Dog Health yourself, or which we love, by the way, guys. If they're just going online, because I think that's what a lot of pet people do. I do it for myself for a lot of products. We go online and we look at Amazon or whatever other marketplaces are out there, and we're like, oh, all these products look the same. I'm not going to get the cheapest product, which is I've done it in the past, but price is sometimes price can be misconception as well. Like that you can have a really high expensive product, and it's like, oh, because this is very expensive, it must be a premium product. So what for pet parents out there, when they're looking to purchase CBD for their parent, what should they be looking on the labels, and what should be some of the main things that really sticks out that they should be the key things that they should be looking for when purchasing?
I think that is kind of one of the most important questions, because there's so much to know as a pet parent, kind of looking at different hemp-based products, that it can be really daunting. And pet parents shouldn't have to become experts about this. Unfortunately, we don't have a veterinary community that really is enabled to speak about it as openly as we would like. And hopefully that can change, where you can kind of run to your vet and they can tell you what to do. But in the meantime, for anybody who's listening out there, the things that I would say are most important, whether you use our product or others, because there are great products out there that are not CBD Dog Health. I really believe in what we do, and I think it's great. But I would say, the first and most important thing is you want it to be a full spectrum, meaning an unadulterated extract. So that means that all these various compounds that are naturally occurring in the hemp plant, they're left intact. You get various forms after that of extraction and isolation, refinement, where they start taking different compounds out to make it more palatable, or more palatable to the legal system that is afraid of things like THC. But really, if you look at any of the major institutions that are studying cannabis-based therapies, none of them are using anything but an unadulterated extract, which is going to have that wide range of cannabinoids. So I trust Cornell University and what they're using for their cases, and that's a full spectrum extract. The other thing that I would look into is you may have to ask a company about this, but about their manufacturing processes. A lot of the times, similar to in the pet food industry, which you're very familiar with, I know, you kind of get the human food sometimes gets the best of what we produce, and the pet food gets kind of the worst stuff. The same thing happens in the hemp industry, where you'll have, just another kind of anatomy lesson. All of the best parts of the cannabis or the hemp plant for the therapeutic use are found in the flowering buds at the top of the plant. It's like the kind of crowning jewel. So there are other parts that you can harvest that have minor levels of those cannabinoids and terpenes and other bioactive molecules, which you can harvest and you can make extracts out of them, and they're going to get something out of them. But companies should be harvesting just from the best parts that have the highest concentration of those active molecules, or you get a bunch of stuff that you don't need and not as much as of the stuff as what you do need. Another thing I think that is just really simple for people is to have make sure that that company has a certificate of analysis, where you can then check all this stuff. So you can make sure that it's full spectrum. You can also make sure with a certificate of analysis, which is a lab report that's done by a third party, so they're unaffiliated. Hope that you got to check on that too, because a lot of times it'll be like you'll see the logo of the company right in the corner, even though they've given you a lab report, which makes it really easy for them to fudge it. And I'll tell you too, like as a company that does this, it's organic material. We're growing these things. There's variability. So it really is important that we're testing it regularly, so that things don't change in a way that we don't want them to, so that plants don't grow in a different way. Or if you're downwind of a farm that's using toxic chemicals, that you can test that all of that will be in the certificate of analysis on those lab reports. What we do is we have a QR code on every bottle, every jar of our topicals, that will lead you directly to those test results. so that you can see on there, it should show not only that there's a broad range of cannabinoids like CBD, THC, CBG, but also that it doesn't have any pesticides, any fertilizers, that there are no pathogens like E. coli or anything like that in there. That's really important. And then I would say, finally, the last thing, if all of those things haven't turned up much information for you and you're still kind of like, what's going on here? I don't really know if I can trust these people. I would say look to the company, look to the company story and look who the people behind it are. And if you can find names and faces and a story that is consistent with what you're seeing, like I what is different about our brand and what I think is really special about what we do is, we were founded and built with the help of some really incredible experts. Our founder, Angela Ardolino, she is like the pet cannabis expert. She studied at the University of Vermont's Medical School for the Biology and Therapeutic Use of Medical Cannabis. She runs a rescue farm down in Tampa, Florida, and was able to see this used with all of her animals after she studied it at the university. We work closely with veterinarians all across the country. And so, I think it's really important to find the companies who have integrity. And we're not the only one, but it it's a big market and there's a lot of money to be made, and so there's a lot of people rushing in. But you should be able to tell that they're in it to help the pets and help the animals. That's what we're there for.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing. A couple of things, just the on what you said there was the certificate of analysis, and one thing that just been what we've been doing over the few years. Where is it coming from, and actually like what the farms next door, if
Right.
they have,
Right.
and just it's like, oh yeah, this is an organic growing farm, but the farm next door isn't, and
Is using
how it can
glyphosate,
actually,
and then suddenly there's glyphosate in your extracts. And
yes,
hemp is a really incredible plant. It's often used in what's called bioremediation, where, for
yeah,
instance, in places like in where there's nuclear waste, they can come in and plant hemp, and it will take that nuclear waste out of the soil. It will remove the radiation from the soil. It will pull heavy metals out of the soil. It's really an
wow,
incredible plant.
that,
But the downside of that is it's going to pull heavy metals and a whole bunch of crap out of the soil, leave the soil better, but then you don't have an extract that is at all fit for therapeutic use.
yeah, okay, well and that's again the key part of, and why checking that certificate of analysis is really
Mm-hmm.
super important. And then the other
Yep.
part to that, we're all Amazon shoppers, and you go on, you're buying on those brands. If you can't see the people behind it, and you can even see the top listing companies, and then it's like, okay, well, so who's the owner of this? And they could be just some
Yeah.
really great marketing expert,
Yeah.
but there's no actual person behind it. So
Yeah.
finding out who the
And the other
and
thing
then
about
and then
Amazon is they're not doing any full spectrum hemp extract. They're not doing anything that is a true extract. It's hemp seed oil. It is not. Amazon has a policy of no full spectrum extracts. I'm not sure if they're now doing broad spectrum extracts. Last time I checked, they weren't, but they are definitely not doing anything that is an unadulterated, unprocessed extract. So
yeah,
I don't buy from Amazon. You don't have to buy it from us, but don't buy it from Amazon or your gas station. It's
yeah.
not a leash. This is something serious. We want to buy it from a really good source.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to, now that we know what's the on the labels, and we'll open up to a few questions after this. Is what is the best way to determine the right dosage for your dog or pet? Cat, it's cat as well.
Dog, cat. I brought my little cat cabinet here. I've got, because we don't want to forget about the cats.
Yeah,
we
everyone
gotta we
forgets.
gotta Everyone forgets about the cats, but we love the
I
cats.
know.
We've actually got a whole line of hemp extracts for cats specifically. But
Yeah, well,
to your question, the best way to determine dosage for your pet is, I think, simply with a flexible approach. There are so many different factors that go into um, how your pet is going to react and what their unique sensitivity is going to be to CBD in a very different way from different medications and drugs that you might be used to. So, whereas oftentimes it's really simple to for veterinarians and medical practitioners to say, for this NSAID, the right dosage is going to be this much by a milligrams per kilogram basis. And what the research is showing in our experience and what our vets are reporting back to us is that's just not the most efficient way. It, a pet's sensitivity to cannabis can change over time. It can require different levels based on the different disease or condition that they're suffering from. Um, so there are sort of benchmarks that we have set and that kind of the community has agreed upon. If you go to our website, cbddoghealth.com, we've got a big page on there called dosing that'll kind of break down the main conditions and sort of where a good average effective daily dose is for things like arthritis or cancer or seizures, allergies. But I think the most important thing to talk about is that it is you're going to have to kind of figure it out, honestly. It's really it's kind of what is unique about plant medicine is it's gonna be different for every animal. And one thing that I always recommend is keep a journal, especially in those first couple weeks where you're seeing how they're reacting to it initially. You want to get those small changes marked down so you can really take stock of how it's affecting them, and also know that by testing their threshold and their upper limit and seeing like, okay, maybe I can give them a little bit more, maybe I can give them a little bit more, and they'll feel even better. There is no danger of overdosing them. It is an
Okay.
incredibly safe extract, up to well above how much you would ever feasibly use. They've done tons of studies where they're giving thousands and thousands of milligrams of CBD to test for a lethal dose. And they've tested for the lethal dose of CBD. They've tested for a lethal dose of THC, which a lot of people are really scared of, and have been unsuccessful in all counts. So, there are a lot of really commonplace drugs and not even drugs, nutraceuticals that have a lethal dose that we don't balk at. You literally cannot overdose on this stuff. So you can feel safe that there's a high degree of safety as you're experimenting with dosage in those initial phases.
I guess this also comes down to how complex the body is and what other, um, whether it be how the current gut health is. So it's like you can take a product and then it's like, okay, how well is the body able to absorb it? And everyone, humans or pets, have a different way of absorbing based on their current nutrition levels, their wellness, their exposures to external, even their happiness, which can also be, which is linked to the gut, and then how they're able to absorb that. So that trial and testing is definitely probably something that is important, and it's really great to know that for pet parents, they don't have to be worried of, oh my god, I've just given my dog or cat too much. It is actually quite a safe product to use.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, I would well, I was just going to say something, then I got distracted by all these lovely comments. Hi everybody.
Yeah, which by the way, we will open up to a few questions.
Yeah.
With time is limited,
Oh,
but yeah, we
I
definitely,
remember.
yeah.
I remember. So, okay, so just one cool little fact, like about dosage that kind of illustrates why we have to be flexible about this. They did a study on dogs with epilepsy in 2019, and they tested the receptor density. So, how many of those cannabinoid receptors were in their brain before and after seizure activity? And what they found is in dogs who had seizures, the body naturally created more receptors for cannabinoids in the brain. So the body is almost preparing itself. It has a seizure and it's going, okay, we need something to help balance this excessive electrical activity in the brain. Let's create more places where these molecules are going to be able to come in and slow that down. So, you know, that kind of illustrates how the body will change where the receptors are in the body depending on what it needs.
Yeah, right.
And isn't that cool?
Yeah, our truly like the way, and we've gotten away from so much. Like it's like our bodies are so amazing, and we're unfortunately through external environments, and not to be a conspiracy theorist, because I don't, I'm not really, I think it's true, but I don't know if it is. But they got the 5G network and all the different radio, but that the radioactivity that's around, and then our food.
Me sitting with my phone attached to my face all day long in my hands.
All day long, and I'm so guilty of it. And I'm so glad that my mum always tells me off for not switching my Wi-Fi, and she's like, you need to switch that off at nighttime. So, but like going back to that, like our bodies are truly amazing things, and if we can get back to our natural healing and just like detoxing and getting the body clean, and we really quite powerful things.
Absolutely.
Let's just open up a couple of questions. One question which Harper had.
Oh yeah. Is CBD oil therapeutically beneficial for dogs diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease? Hi, Harper. Absolutely. Yeah. So the gut health is one of the best applications for CBD. There are a ton of receptors in the gut for cannabinoids like CBD, and studies show that it can increase circulation to the lining of the stomach. It modulates the release of gastric acid, increases stomach motility. There are so many different things that it can really do for the gut. And then also with the anti-anxiolytic properties, where something like IBS, where it can often be attached to like a psychological kind of component, it's going to be coming at that from two different ways, and can be really effective. That's also, the relationship of CBD to the gut. That's one of the ways that it can be so helpful with these autoimmune conditions and different inflammatory conditions, because so much of the immune system resides in the gut. Something, the studies say that something around 80%, oftentimes they quote more, of the cells responsible for the immune system reside in the gut. And there are tons of receptors for cannabinoids in the gut. So it is a really fantastic thing for gut health, definitely.
Yeah, and we learned that a lot from Dr. Katie, which I know you guys, Dr. Katie Woodley.
Yeah, we love Dr. Katie.
On our gut summit. So yeah, that was. I'm glad that was a great question, Harper. Got another question
thanks,
from
Harper.
Aaron Harper. There's lots of Harpers out today. Can CBD dog help? Sorry.
Can CBD help a dog who has glaucoma? This is one of those things that CBD is actually not really great for. CBD doesn't really have a whole lot to contribute to glaucoma and intraocular pressure, but THC, surprisingly, is kind of the one that is often linked to glaucoma and eye health. THC is one of the major cannabinoids, THC and CBD being the two most prominent, but there's 140 other ones that all have different therapeutic properties. So a CBD dominant extract, so a hemp extract, which is what is legal in all 50 states in the United States, that is going to have less than 0.3% THC in it. And so that's not going to have a huge effect on glaucoma, I'm afraid. And I know that people are already out there asking now, but I thought THC was not safe for dogs. As I said earlier, there are studies that show that you can give dogs thousands of milligrams of THC, and unless you have a case where a dog is in really end stages of something like a cardiovascular disease, there is very, very little risk in using THC. It can be very scary to see them overdose on it, but when used properly with respect, like any other powerful therapeutic agent, it is a valuable tool. So if you wanted to go down that route, there is evidence that a more THC dominant extract could be helpful for glaucoma. And especially if it's for humans, go for it.
Well, I know
if you live in a legal state. If you live in a legal place.
Yeah, I don't know if there was any THC in the CBD. I don't think so, because Australia is pretty strict.
Yes.
So I didn't get the good stuff, but the CBD oil that I did have, whatever it was in it, just and it really helped with my aches and pains.
Mm-hmm.
And I know just to plug in, Dr. Zach speaking at our Senior Dog Summit, and how CBD is super beneficial based on what we're talking about with arthritis and how it can help our senior dogs. So that's going to be coming out soon, guys. So if you want to check that out, check out our Facebook group. Dr. Zach and Dr. Ava Frick have an amazing interview, which goes for nearly an hour. So there's lots of great stuff into that. I have another question from Jan Bangton. Apologies if I'm not saying your name properly.
What is the evidence for CBD to alleviate anxiety and heighten sensory responses, especially auditory? There's a bunch of evidence for that. And one of the places that you can go where we've collected a lot of that information and a lot of the scientific studies is on our website, cbddoghealth.com/studies, I believe. You can also just search our blogs on anxiety, which we have all the latest research linked on there. Our website is just like a really great source of education. We've got a wonderful team of veterinary technicians and writers with a lot of experience in holistic health who are constantly updating them and writing them. But there's a lot that CBD can do for those conditions where, you know, whether it is something innate or it's something where you have a change of circumstance and animals become sensitized to things that they weren't sensitive to before. It can really help to kind of take in those peaks of reactivity and allow them to kind of break those habits. There's a really great study that showed that CBD helped to dissociate a cognitive connection between negative memories. So where over time they showed animals these things that had stimulated them in the past, and they were able to show through brainwaves a lower reactivity over time. This is something, especially with anxiety and these things that are pretty deep seated. You know, the phrase "old habits die hard" is absolutely true, and I think that another one of the big misconceptions about CBD is like you're going to give a reactive dog a couple drops of CBD, and then suddenly you're going to have a well-behaved, well-trained, like totally angelic little puppy. And that's like, you know, like it's good to hope, but that's just not really how it works. So consistency is so important. Yeah. So check our website, check the blogs, but it is super helpful. And I've seen a lot of dogs really be able to have a wonderful quality of life where they before were really kind of inhibited and lived in a state of fear and anxiety before.
Just to touch on that, puppies, like what is CBD for puppies? Is that like, I know you're saying with dogs, but like, can you use it for puppies? Is it great?
Yeah, it is safe with puppies. It's something that, you know, you want to be cautious of kind of overloading puppies with anything other than the basics, I think, as kind of a rule of thumb. You know, people talk a lot about the dangers of using THC with adolescents and young people and puppies. So you wouldn't want to use something that had a lot of THC in it. The amount that's in a full spectrum hemp extract is not so much that it's going to be an issue. But I would use it for a specific reason. It's not something that, you know, I have a rambunctious puppy, and I want to calm him down. If you haven't first done a lot of stimulation, taken them for a lot of walks, played with them, loved them, I would be cautious to just start, you know, overloading them with that, because also their endocannabinoid system, which we talked about earlier, that's still developing as they're younger. But there are a lot of cases where we see puppies do really well on it. You know, puppies that have had traumas at young ages, when they're in those fear stages in the early years of development, that have those traumas and become very fearful. It can be really useful for them. Dogs that have a lot of you know, genetic predispositions to allergies, it can be super helpful for them. So yeah, I would say it's definitely a great tool to be used in specific cases.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I think, and like, you know, going back to not the first thing you use, because like, you know, we worked with Dr. Ian Dunbar for our dog training summit, and yeah, a lot
Awesome.
of he doesn't yeah, he's like, I learned so much, and it's that perfect timing because I just got my little puppy at the same time, so it was really
Oh,
quite helpful
nice.
that,
You're
yeah,
lucking out.
it's quite,
You're getting all the good advice.
I'm getting all the good advice. So I like, this
Yeah.
is so beneficial, and this is one of the reasons why we created Pet Summits, because when we were starting to educate ourselves, we're just like, and there's so much information out there. Where do we go to? And there was so much, not necessarily the right information out there. So that's, so it's been such a great learning journey for myself. We are running out of time, so I think we just have one more question, which I think is quite interesting. And I don't know if you'll have the answer on this, but this is kind of I wasn't really too sure.
What's your thoughts on all natural lavender oil for relaxation versus CBD? So lavender is awesome. Lavender is a really powerful plant. A lot of people think that it is just smells nice and that's it. But one fact that's really cool is the cannabis plant and the lavender plant, they actually share a number of those therapeutic compounds. One of them are like terpenes. That is something I mentioned earlier. There's a terpene called linalool that you can find in the flowering buds of a cannabis plant, as well as the flowers of a lavender plant. And linalool is known to be anti-inflammatory, cardioprotective, anti-anxiolytic. So it's, all those calming effects, they have a synergistic effect with the cannabis plant. And actually, our calm tincture that we use for anxiety, stress, fear, our calm tincture actually has lavender essential oil in it. So we get our lavender from this really beautiful biodynamic farm in Northern California. This is a full spectrum hemp extract with added lavender in it. So you, thank you for doing that for us. Good question.
That was actually not even
Are
intentional.
you
That
up?
was
Is
just
that a
I
plant?
that was, yeah, purely unexpected. So that was, I was curious myself. Thank you so much, Carter. It's been amazing to chat to you. Always as a pleasure. For people out there that don't know about you guys, apologies. What's the best way for them to find out about you?
So really, our website is the best place to find us, cbddoghealth.com. Like I said before, we're really focused on education. So whether you choose to buy our product or you just need some questions answered about the oil that you've already got or what your vet is talking to you about, our chat is monitored weekdays from 9 to 5, I believe, by licensed veterinary technicians who will answer all your questions. You can call us, you can email us. But all of that is on our website. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at CBD Dog Health.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And for those of you guys out there that want to know how CBD Dog Health with Dr. Zach, speaking with Dr. Abel Frick, keep an eye out. The Senior Dog Summit is now available to purchase. You can upgrade for the premium version, but the free version will be available very, very shortly. So it's an amazing interview. I've had the pleasure to watch it. So yes, I'm learning so much for myself. But thank you again.
I'm so
excited.
Again, Carter. You're very welcome, Isaac. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody.